You guys know I live for the conversation, so yes.
Yeah, I like her.
Oh, dear. Okay, welcome everyone to our Women's Empowerment Workshop for February. We are so happy to have everyone together. February is a month in which some people, or we tend to think about love. Usually it's romantic love, and that's important for many people, especially women. But today we are going to think of love in all its ramifications, all the different kinds of love and the effect they have in our lives. We all need to be loved and cherished, and love needs to be expressed and demonstrated. But somehow, despite all our good intentions, we fall away from regularly expressing our love. We get busy with life's needs and distractions, and we forget to tell people that we love them, and we forget to act in loving ways sometimes. February gives us the perfect opportunity to be reminded that we should express our love and gratitude to all our loved ones and let them know how glad we are that they're in our lives. It's also a time to remember the love and the gift of God to all humankind and the true love of God in our hearts. It's a deep reminder of our steadfast promise to love the way He loves. Love is powerful. Let's just take a moment to remember this quotation from Dr. Martin Luther King. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hatred. Only love can do that. So,
hello, everyone. We find instructions and references to love in all faiths. We're not here today to push religion on anyone. However, it seems clear that at least to many people, love is a spiritual force that comes from God. Let's look at just a few examples from different faith traditions. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. Corinthians 13, 4-8. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together, perfect harmony.
This is NPR.
Colossians 3:14. The quotations are telling us that love has to do with the way we treat people, the way we relate to others, even the way we treat ourselves. Here are some others. You can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself. And that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Radiate boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and across, unhindered, without ill will, without enmity. From Buddha. That's still part of what I would like to read for you. There is a magnet in your heart that will attract true friends. That magnet is unselfishness, thinking of others first. When you learn to live for others, they will live for you. From the Hindu scripture. The Muslims are like a single man. If the eye is afflicted, then the whole body is afflicted. If the head is afflicted, then the whole body is afflicted. Love for the people what you love for yourself, and you will be a believer. Behave well with your neighbors, and you will be a Muslim. From the Islamic tradition.
There are several instances where love has been categorized into specific types. For example, the Greeks described 6 types of love. Eros, or sexual passion. Philia, or deep friendship. Ludus, or playful love. Agape, or love for everyone. Pragma, or long-standing love. Philautia, thank you. Philautia, or love of the self. Another categorization of types of love is found in the scriptures of the Baha'i faith, which lists these types. In the world of existence, there is indeed no greater power than the power of love. When the heart of man is aglow with the flame of love, he is ready to sacrifice all, even his life. In the gospel, it is said, God is love. There are 4 kinds of love. The first is the love that flows from God to man. It consists of the inexhaustible graces, the divine effulgence, and heavenly illumination. Through this love, the world of being receives life. This love is the origin of the love in the world of creation. The second is the love that flows from man to God. This is faith, attraction to the divine, enkindlement, progress, entrance into the kingdom of God, receiving the bounties of God, illumination with the lights of the kingdom. This love is the origin of all philanthropy. This love causes the hearts of men to reflect the rays of the sun of reality. The third is the love of God towards the self or identity of God. Through one ray of this love, all other love exists. The fourth is the love of man for man. The love which exists between the hearts of believers is prompted by the ideal of the unity of spirits. This love is attained through the knowledge of God, so that men see the divine love reflected in the heart. Each sees in the other the beauty of God reflected in the soul, and finding this point of similarity, they are attracted to one another in love. This love will bring the realization of true accord, the foundation of real unity. And of course, when it says man, it means people.
There are additional quotations that refer to love, and here are just a few. Love is such a powerful force. It's there for everyone to embrace, that kind of unconditional love for all of humankind. That is the kind of love that impels people to go into the community and try to change conditions for others, to take risks for what they believe in. And that's from Coretta Scott King. Our wonderful Maya Angelou says, love recognizes no barriers. The giving of love is an education in itself, from Eleanor Roosevelt. And you have to think about that one a little bit, and you'll see that it really is true. It is love alone that gives worth to all things. That's from St. Teresa of Avila. And finally, another from Dr. King. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy to a friend. Love is the most great law. Sorry. So the power of love is, as the song says, love is what makes the world go round. There is even scientific thought which indicates that the cohesive power of the galaxy, the thing that keeps it all together, is love. Love is the most great law that ruleth this mighty and heavenly cycle. The unique power that bindeth together the diverse elements of this material world, the supreme magnetic force that directeth the movements of the spheres in the celestial realms. Love revealeth with unfailing and limitless power the mysteries latent in the universe. And that is from the Baha'i Faith. That last one may be a little bit difficult for some of us to get our heads around, the fact that the planets and the solar systems and galaxies are held together by love. But there is thought among scientists that that is what in fact has occurred. What is easy to understand, however, is that love is the way we relate to others, the way we conduct ourselves in the world, and the power that enables us to live in harmony.
Thank you. Well, sometimes something that is called love can be misused. Coercion, abuse, power struggles, oppression, manipulation, all sorts of unfortunate practices have been carried out in the name of love. We can clearly see from all the material we've just been reading that when that kind of activity is going on, it is anything but love. It is the opposite, distorted love, or negative emotional forces masquerading as love, resulting in domestic violence, dating violence, child abuse, dysfunctional family relationships, even contentious community relationships. As women especially, we need to recognize the misuse of so-called love in these scenarios and in these ways, and step up to combat it for the sake of others and for ourselves. So we come up with questions to the audience today. What did we learn from this material today? How do we feel or think differently as a result of what we reviewed? Let's talk about it.
Wilma, you're muted.
Okay, go ahead. I always, when I think about love, I think that as a child, I never thought that somebody didn't love me. It never occurred to me. And then when I grew up, I realized everybody didn't have that experience. And we used to tease, and we thought it was so funny because if you came to my parents' home, if you were Charles Ellis's child, you had to kiss your father. I didn't know that was rare. I thought everybody had to kiss their father when they came in the door. What did I know? And then as I grew up, I had one girlfriend who never even saw her father, who didn't know who he was. And my father was very discreet. He only did that to his own children. He didn't kiss anybody else. And he would never say to Diane, "Hi, Diane." He would say, "Hi, Mrs. Gunther."
Yeah,
He was very formal that way.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't your daddy like that? Mine was.
Yeah.
So the expression of love is what I'm trying to get to. I didn't know other people who didn't live like that. And I had to learn that everybody's daddy wasn't like my daddy. And how to handle that. People loved him. Oh, gee, I wonder why. Wasn't your daddy like that? I remember as a little girl thinking that. So I'm from the whooshy, give your daddy a kiss generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have a daddy in the home, or you had stepfathers, I, being from a different generation, will tell you that love was a great moving force throughout my entire life's experience with my people. So I second her emotion until you walk out into the world and then you see the different interpretations of love. Yeah. And it makes you a faithful person in prayer because you just want everybody to feel loved.
It's true. So if I'm not loving, don't blame my parents.
She fell and bumped her head, that's all.
Andrea?
I think for me, understanding the concept of love had to go through a lot of challenges, right? So for me, it was breaking generational trauma in order to understand what the kind of love I'm supposed to have and I deserve to have, and the genuine emotion that you're allowed to let someone have for you. I think that for me, it was just understanding that the way I was raised and the way that I grew up and my surrounding culture didn't always represent love in the way that, I've grown to feel and I've grown to have. So it's been eye-opening for me. It's been just very lovely to know that there is another way of being loved that's not toxic or hurtful or, with any kind of malice or manipulation behind it. There's just purity. And that for me has been a very just, I guess, inspirational way to move on and try and give that same love to my kids so that they know the value of them as a person is defined with people around you and the people who love you.
Yeah, unfortunately, as Wilma said, not everybody was in a loving kind of home like hers. Other comments, please, or questions? Edie, I see you wiggling. Does that mean you have something to say?
I was just trying to think of the right words. It's seemingly the loudest kind of love, and it really wasn't love, it was negative. But it was louder than love, was what I heard. Although I committed myself to going to church, going to Sunday school religiously, and I was treated differently there. So I think that's probably why I went there. But the whole situation was just warped and loud, and it wasn't loving. So I realized gradually that love doesn't come from out there. Mm-hmm. It comes, if you can get it in here, then you can handle anything.
Amen.
you can love this person in here, then you can begin to love other people.
That's so
So still working on that.
well, I think you do a pretty good job because I love you.
Man, I wanted to be adopted by your family a long time ago.
You are adopted to our family a long time ago. I bring to you the case of Adrian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Edgar was the first person I actually felt love and believed it. And
Yeah.
believed it.
She needed it. Yeah.
Well, with Adrienne, it was easy because she was just, it poured out of her
Oh,
24 hours a day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like to make some
hard
comments,
and fair. Okay.
So, Hala,
if I may. Thank you, especially since this session is called "What's Love Got to Do with It?" And I had the honor of presenting the first version or the first part of the two-part series. Hopefully would be more parts to it in the future. But I want to invite everyone to actually look into our YouTube series and find that one, because that's a full circle of different signs that one could be looking for to make sure that the misinterpreted or misused version of love is not fooling them. So that's very informational as far as backed up with scientific data and information and the psychology behind it and everything. So today I'm not going to get into that. It's just that because of a part of my practice as a lawyer, I'm dealing with broken homes, broken promises of love, and broken hearts. I'd like to chime in on the fact that many of the parties into those broken relationships are women who had tended to fool themselves for years and sometimes decades into believing that that extra attribute of love that we have, that we would like to be loved and would like to give love even more than we would like to be loved, is one of the reasons that we continue to prolong this process of misdiagnosing signs of what is not love. And we'd like to put ourselves in the position of a physician who is trying to help the other component of this relationship, who is being abusive, who is being angry, who is being envious, who does not appreciate the love that is being given. We like to be very forgiving because we keep finding diagnosis behind the problem. And we put ourselves in the position of a physician who needs to treat the problem. And it's not until years and years and years later where we are so wounded and so damaged and so broken that we don't even have any strength to walk away or to do anything about what we had misdiagnosed. And then we fall a prey into becoming more and more of the abused victim. So these are really significant knowledge and learning and information that people who are looking for this kind of information need to be constantly exposed to. And I'm so proud of our organization to be bringing this up to the surface, whether it's the month of domestic violence, or it's the month about love, or any other relationship, any other occasion where these relationships could be examined and re-examined and assessed and reassessed. And all of that really turns on a big journey of self-exploration, finding who we are, what we can do, what we are capable of doing, but recognizing when the diagnosis is an error and we need to use a different method of treatment. And I think the sooner we get to that realization, the sooner we can treat the world that is wounded and injured and practice preventative solutions by not letting our next generations, our daughters, to get into that prolonged disease of misdiagnosis and be aware with our eyes and ears open to the friends, to the nieces, to the friends, children, to the next generation, and raise them with that awareness to recognize the signs, to not take on a role of fixing things that are not capable of being fixed, and then try to love ourselves and appreciate the value of the love that we can give to the one who deserves receiving. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, that's a lot. But it's true that part of our responsibility, I think, as women in this organization or in whatever context we find ourselves, is to try to guide the young girls, young women, and have them understand that the fact that he's cute and he has a nice car doesn't overcome the fact that he's a jerk.
Putting it nicely. No.
Yeah. And that, you know, I recall talking to a young woman, well, not so young anymore, but a mature woman who had experienced years of physical and mental abuse. Hello, Jay. Welcome. Glad you can join us.
Now hear us. Hello, Jay. Welcome. Echoing.
Welcome. A young woman who had experienced years of abuse within a relationship. And she said it began when they were dating. And I was with someone else and the two of us were, you know, surprised. And she said, oh, it was considered perfectly normal when you were in a dating relationship, perfectly normal. And I'm thinking, how can that be? How can that be? I don't understand that. And I still don't understand it. I mean, I know it's cultural history and all that, but that's where I think we have to look out for our young women, our young girls. Andrea, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. I just a quick comment on that subject. I mean, I can honestly say how relatable it is. Culturally, my background, definitely you have the personification of a man presented in such a way that any kind of abuse is tolerated. And that's passed on to children who are looking at it on a day-to-day basis. I myself, I'm not going to call myself a victim, but I myself dealt with and tolerated a toxic relationship, but it wasn't just one-sided, it was mutual. So I think going with that is also understanding that, you know, any kind of abuse, whether it comes from you towards someone you're supposed to love or you receive it, should not be the type of relationship that should be considered a love relationship. And I think that that's the misconception, right? You think if you're both tearing each other down, then it's fair, then it's even, then it's, you know, cancels out, you know, whatever. The immature mindset and the inability to comprehend that that's not a lifestyle. That is just detrimental to yourself, your soul, your mind, physically, mentally, emotionally. And overcoming that and growing up into a mature relationship and finding that balance, you get a whole perspective, a whole new perspective on just, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want my kids to have. This is what is good, right? And I think that that does fall back on a lot of the culture, a lot of just, again, the way you're raised and everything you're looking at growing up, basically.
Yeah. Lily?
Hi. Sorry. Yeah, a couple of things. Well, first, you know, I have been lucky in my life that I did have lots of love from my parents, and as well as I am in a great relationship, and I have lots of love for my kids. So, I mean, that part, you know, I'm lucky. But I also, in my medical practice, I do see quite a few patients, and mostly female patients, who are in toxic relationship, whether it's a physical abuse or emotional abuse. There are quite a few of them who are not physically abused, but they're emotionally abused. And it gets to the point that these women are, I mean, they are not functional because they're so emotionally abused until they start realizing, and as you said, as a couple of you mentioned, until you begin to love yourself and to appreciate yourself, And then once they do that, they realize that, oh my God, I'm better than this. And sometimes I have to push them. I have to, I recommend counseling, but there were a couple of occasions when I told the patient, until you leave your husband, you're not going to get better. And you know what? She left her husband and she became a new person. So because he was not touching her physically, but he was abusing her emotionally. So there's so many ways of, and to get out of that horrible circle and vicious cycle, it takes a lot of strength. And you have to love you, so you have to begin to love yourself in order to be able to find something and find the right love, not what they experience.
Thank you, Lily. We have Odessa Elise has joined us. Welcome. We're happy to have you with us. We're talking about the various kinds of love, and we at the moment have been discussing the misuse or misinterpretation of what love is. But we've been talking about love in all its ramifications, spiritual love and family love and everything. So we're happy to have you join us. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I especially love the quote that says, "Love is the most great law that ruleth this mighty and heavenly cycle, the unique power that bindeth together the diverse elements of this material world, the supreme magnetic force that directeth the movements of the spheres in the celestial realms. Love revealeth with unfailing and limitless power the mysteries latent in the universe." I think that should be shared with everybody, especially in the climate in the world today, that it's so divisive, that if people really understood that, and I just find that really intriguing, that we're all being held together by love. I think it's yeah. I think we should spend a lot of time sharing that. And then Wilma, when you were talking about, kissing your dad, it made me think of my son-in-law, Chris. When he comes home from work, usually Naraya, she runs, daddy, 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 and she just runs and throws herself at him. And sometimes she'll be, doing something else, and he'll walk in and he'll, baby cakes? Where's my kiss? And she just drops whatever she does and runs to him. So I think she is all three of Mary and Chris's kids are very lucky. He has a loving relationship with his sons too. It's different, but he's not afraid to kiss them either.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
more of that's happening nowadays than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
If you notice how the men now in a broad range of cultures, not just some, where they'll come and hug and kiss one another, and I love it.
I think because of the work that people have done. I don't know, it may partly the women's movement or partly, I don't know. It's been made, we can do that. That's okay. That's something that, that's human. That's how we relate to each other as human beings. And it's okay. So.
I like that we're taking the time to educate people that love isn't just that, what everybody thinks about when they hear the word love, that it's all encompassing, that it's holding the world together. I just love that we're looking at that and look at all the loves. Don't just think of one. When you think of one, think of the rest of them too.
And unfortunately, many people, young people, women especially, are looking for the kind of love that you see on the Hallmark Channel, that's the only love there is. And of course, that is completely erroneous. Did I see? Oh, Jay. Okay, yeah. Jay, your hand's up.
She's muted.
She's muted.
You have to unmute.
There she is.
Okay, sorry, I'm on my phone. That was the fastest way I could get connected with you guys. And I'm not good at this thing on my phone. There, all right. So maybe you talked about it before I arrived, but I'm listening to this all-inclusive love. But I think one central component of this is understanding in a very compassionate kind of way what it means to love yourself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I either heard it or read it the other day, this comment about have a conversation with yourself as though you were having a romantic relationship with someone else. Can you sit and have this loving, I really love you with all of my heart conversation with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And, that took me aback. And as you know, what my latest journey is, that's part of it. But this just seemed to drive it home. And, when kids, they said, it takes one to know one. Remember that on the playground?
Yes.
Well, I think that that's true in love, is that when we know that we cherish and love ourselves, then that's what we put out. That's the energy that we put out, the vibes that we put out. And that's what invites a healthier relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. One of the quotes that we read says, you can search throughout the entire universe for someone who is more deserving of your love and affection than you are yourself. And that person is not to be found anywhere. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed the quote, but
No.
anyway.
Yeah, actually, for those that came on a little bit later, we had a page and a half of quotations, which we had up on the screen. And if you would like them, I can send you those quotations.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can send it to you. And anybody else that wants the quotations, I'd be happy to send them. You can put your...
I have a request. I've been known to put people on the spot, and I think Alan, standing right behind Kathleen,
Yeah, he is.
we can't see him. We want to hear it from a man's perspective. How we can misdiagnose love, or how we can just be, aware of things that could help us do the right kind of love. So you're such a man of insight that I like to hear, and I miss you. So I needed to say something so that you could talk.
Yeah, thank you, Sohaila.
And he's not shy. He will tell me if I should shut up and not ask him.
Not shy, that's true.
Thank you, Sohaila. Yeah, I should have asked whether or not I could join.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely.
I made an assumption based on love.
And we love men.
Yeah.
And
you made an assumption.
So, but what was the question?
Talk about love. There is no wrong kind of love for you. I know that. You've always known the right love, but just give us some pointers.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
let me give you a little hand up, Alan. We're talking about love and all its ramifications, and then we got on to what the misuse of love, or the distortion of love, or unfortunate behaviors in the name of love.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that some people are victimized, and partly because they don't love themselves, and that therefore they don't have the strength to recognize that is not love.
Mm-hmm.
So Sohaila's asking if you have any comments.
Oh. Well, what was just said about love has to be, there has to be this love of the love that exists within me and that I find in myself. In the Baha'i writings, we find that thou art my light, and my light is in thee. And I think that light is the love of God, which is in each one of us. And unless and until I find that light, then it becomes impossible for me to reflect that light out to others. If when I look in myself, I can't find a light, or if that light is diminished or lessened, then my capacity to reflect is correspondingly diminished or lessened. And that's, to me, a bottom line. And even in the midst of pain and sorrow and disappointment, that light still flickers within me, that light of love. And that's where I need to go. That's where I have to go in order to be able to reflect it back to others. And that's kind of my thing. That's my thought on that question.
Thank you, Alan. We're happy to have you join us.
Happy to be here. I just flew in from the Virgin Islands.
Well, you arrived just on time.
And let me just say, Alan, thank you. But also, without knowing it, you also addressed another question that was brought up, and the context that was presented was that more and more men are finding that expressions of love is not a female attribute, but rather a human attribute, or something that of an elevated value. And you brought it on by your answer. As I said, without knowing it, you said why love is not a male or female or gender specific attribute, but rather a divine attribute. So either one of us who reflects it, it's just the understanding that this new learning in the world is spreading to the humanity, is that the love that is reflected in each one of us is not about being a female or a male, but it's more about being closer to reflecting divine light and divine attributes. So thank you for giving an all-inclusive, very comprehensive answer. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any more comments or questions? We have a little bit more time.
I was just going to tell Jay that I think I could only have that conversation if no one else was looking. I haven't got that far yet. The conversation with yourself and telling yourself how much you love yourself. So I just thought
it takes practice, but you could do it, Edie. With that sweet smile, you just look at yourself and just say, "You're looking good today, lady. You look at my smile." And just going out, you know, it starts by one comment at a time. I've actually practiced that only when I first learned how to do person-to-person sales. I needed to see how I appeared before others. And then it turned into, wow, okay, you look like somebody I want to talk to about this product. So it takes a little practice, and I did feel silly in the beginning. However, as I started to grow and my capacity became stronger, I found that it served more than one purpose.
Okay, Jay?
Well, I would love to respond, Edie. I can't remember her name right now. I will as soon as we hang up, but she's one of these women out there putting herself out there, and she's kind of a Brene Brown woman. And her concept is to look in the mirror every day and high five yourself. And I kind of laughed as I stuck this hand up here. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And she said, start with just looking in the mirror and saying high five. And in the context of what we're talking about, you could high five yourself in the mirror and just say, love you. That's all. Baby steps, you know, you don't have to have this deep conversation if you're not ready. We all start somewhere, but I do like her concept of high five.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do have a taste of humor in there, so I'm throwing that in too. So
could you do that, Edie?
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, I do. I mean, I look at myself and say
Well,
stuff.
I'm
I don't
gonna,
have anybody looking at me saying stuff, okay?
I think Edie does that all the time. We were in a gathering the other day, and Edie was looking so good that she must have done that before she got on the Zoom.
There
I mean, she had to have looked in the mirror and say, "Edie, you looking good tonight."
I like to make a comment, if I may. There was a study that was done recently because of the overwhelming use of Zoom, and one of the Ivy League schools did a study, backed it up with statistics, showing that Zoom sessions are so much more exhausting on women than they are on men, because 75% of those who had been surveyed and interviewed responded with this question of how do you perceive yourself in that Zoom? This is the first really like exposure of the day. You're sitting in meetings all day, and women mostly answered the question that for the first half hour of the conversation, the meeting, it could be a professional business meeting, that they're negotiating with themselves in this mirror. They're just like asking their question, like, where did this wrinkle come from? Or, how did you get the mole here? And they said they're just so busy engaging and interviewing themselves with those questions that by the end of the session, they're exhausted. The performance and productivity of women in Zoom sessions was proven to be much less than men, whereas men were just comfortable with themselves. Zoom wouldn't even look at themselves probably. So this is something to be very mindful of, and then give the high five. And I'm personally finding it very difficult to have that loving conversation because I'm very critical of myself. I'm a perfectionist, so I always find room for improvement, and therefore I can't be happy with that person inside. But anyway, as long as I see the light of God and that love in me, I think that's good enough for others to see it.
I would say so. All right. Any other questions or comments? We do have a little bit more of our program. Ms. Downing, any comment from you?
No, not really. Thank you. I'm just enjoying listening. I haven't been able to sit into a live session, so just enjoying it. But as I was thinking, there is one comment. I know someone said something about sometimes women looking for this hallmark love.
Yeah.
And I kind of say that. I work with students. My kids call them grown-up students. So I work at a university. And so I touch students from, that kind of 18 to 25-year-old range. Mm-hmm. And so I tell them that sometimes what they see on social media is not real, right? Mm-hmm. And so in social media, you'll see something and it looks perfect. And then these young people will say, oh, # relationship goals. Well, if you have to tell somebody that it's your relationship goal to hug or kiss your significant other, then it's probably really not as deep as you think it is. Right. So I just kind of want to second that. And so, we did watch these, not only Hallmark, but sometimes these Lifetime movies, when I was younger, right. I used to think, oh, and now they have social media for that. And so I unfortunately, I feel that sometimes today's generation doesn't have the solid foundation, maybe I'll say, mm-hmm. of not just love for themselves, but love for one another. And I don't always mean a romantic love, just love for people. Because mm-hmm. it's what kind of social media is telling them it should look like. Yeah, you're so right. Yeah. You're so right. Thank you for that comment. Would you be kind enough to put your contact information in the chat so that we can add you to our mailing list? Oh, perfect. Yeah, my physical mailing list or the email list? Email. Oh, I get the email. That's how I found out about this program today. Oh, you get the emails. Okay, fine. Okay, great. We're delighted to have you. Okay, so are there any
Barbara? I just wanted to follow up from what Odessa was saying about the social media, and I'm thinking social media and the reality TV shows. The distortion of love on those shows just drives me nuts. Oh yeah, it's terrible. I can't watch that stuff. I don't. Yeah. And it's anything but reality. I just feel it's anything but reality. That's true. And sometimes, and I haven't seen them in years, but I almost feel like the messages, especially for younger women,
you have to be the one to go through this and that to really get him to stay with you. But then again, at that point, is it deep enough? Is it real enough that you have to go through the hurt and pain? And I don't mean, you know, every relationship and marriage has its ups and downs, but it's almost like they're just setting us up as women to expect to have to go through so much just to still get the basic bare minimum. And I think in turn, kind of like you all were saying earlier, that impacts your love for yourself. And then it's hard to reverse it as you talk to these college students. It's hard to reverse it, to have them love themselves because, but I won't have a boyfriend. So what?
Yeah.
Okay. Woo.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you don't have a boyfriend. Good for you. You have more time for yourself.
Yeah. And I think we have to, it takes so much to work on them to develop them to know that it's okay. Because again, social media tells us that there's something wrong with being alone or being single, as opposed to I'm just working on me, or, you know, I need time for an internship. It's as if something's wrong with having just even alone time. And so it's just really hard when I'm working with students. Again, this is ages 18 to 25. It's just really hard to bring them back to reality because they're on, like you said, this social media or reality TV that's not real. And so there's a real struggle. I especially think with our young women, and it's a struggle.
Well, that is part of the focus of this organization, to help young girls. We start with little girls and then adult women in these workshops to help women to understand their value and how they need to see themselves, and then how they need to use that strength to negotiate life as it occurs. What school are you? Where do you teach?
Actually, I don't teach. I'm a student affairs practitioner, so I work at Cal Poly Pomona.
Oh,
and
okay.
I've been on campus 9 years, maybe, but before that, I was at Cal State LA. I think I've been here 9 years.
Okay,
before
good.
that, I was at Cal State LA, and so right now I'm an interim budget analyst. So I process the purchasing and the payroll for housing. And so I think for that position, again, people feel like, oh, so you're an accountant, kind of, but I work with students also. Yeah. So there's a lot of student development in my job.
Of course, of course. Well, we're so delighted to have you join us. Okay.
But Barbara, I'm going to just ask Odessa to just consider possibly giving one of these workshops. We're always looking for people to really help educate women and younger audience that we sometimes have participated in these. So, you know, just don't be shy about sending us your resume or anything of interest that you would like to present.
Thank you. I would probably consider that. Thank you.
We would be happy to have you do so.
But
okay.
Say one thing.
Yes, Wilma.
Barbara
is correct. Yeah.
That the education about loving it can be to God. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. I will be a joyful and happy being. That's a prayer.
Amen.
Prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's available to any and everybody. Because if I'm not ready to be a happy and joyful being, I ask for divine help. And it's a wonderful prayer.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Okay, Diane, I think you're next.
There. So we've had a very fruitful discussion. And so we would like to encourage everyone that together we will make a resolute commitment to love as a daily practice. So take this time in February, and I say just not February, and just not like Black History Month or International Women's Month. It has to be the whole year, and don't stop. To focus on being your best self, on your family and friends. Doing so enables us to be more compassionate and giving, and puts love into practice. Think of all the ways that you can elevate the practice of love in your life, your personal life, your professional life, your spiritual life. Look at your fellow beings with a more loving eye. Listen with a more loving ear. If we are all doing that at home and in work and in our life, think of how our environs can be changed for the better. Do small things in a spirit that truly reflects love. Do some service, get vaccinated, give blood, forgive small slights, volunteer in your community, reach out to someone who may be hurting. Donate your unused or outgrown items to a shelter or organization in need, and see firsthand all the reasons February truly is the month of love. With intention, spread your love to others and continue to practice self-love. So we entitled this workshop, What's Love Got to Do with It? And our answer is everything. So we're going to close with a wonderful, wonderful treat from Amanda Gorman. This is a new poem that she put together for 2022. And we hope we see you next month, March 11th, Friday, March 11th, and we'll have another topic to discuss and more enlightening conversation. So thank you, everyone.
May this be the day we come together. Mourning we come to mend, withered we come to weather, torn we come to tend, battered we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal, even if we never get back normal. Someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make, the moments we meet. And our hearts, once all together beaten, now all together beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric in our hearts. We hear it for old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. Be bold, sang time this year. Be bold, sang time, for when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. It's been a very lively and fruitful discussion. We're happy to have Jay and Odessa with us, and Alan, and everyone else. So we'll see you next time. March 11th, 5 o'clock.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow.
Bye, Barbara. It's just you and I.
It worked, right?
It was beautiful. Yes. Thank you. And because we're still recording, we're just going to
Oh, okay. I'll stop
talk about
talking.
all this stuff. Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.